The use of steroids in Olympic weightlifting has a long and controversial history. While the use of steroids in all sports has been a problem, in weightlifting, it's been especially prevalent. And surprisingly, it's been among women and children. One of the earliest instances of systemic steroid use in weightlifting and all Olympic sports occurred in the 1960s and 70s, when East German athletes were given anabolic steroids as a part of a state-sponsored doping program. This program, known as State Plan 1425, was designed to produce world-class athletes and boost the country's international prestige. The East German government provided athletes with a range of drugs, including anabolic steroid compounds, testosterone, and human growth hormone. So I'm going to use a few examples from this book, Faust's Gold. It's all about Eastern German systemic doping, and I highly suggest you read it. It is incredibly engaging from front to back, and some of these examples are absolutely horrific. Women who had been on the program and would later become pregnant had malformations of the fetus. And that is if they were able to become pregnant at all after being on the program. A male on the program, Detlef Gerstenberg, was hospitalized in 1980 with severe liver damage at the age of 35. He battled with this liver damage for 13 years, and in 1993, he died at 48 years old. At his funeral, one of his teammates had talked about how he was suffering with liver damage as well. 12 of the male East German weightlifters had to have breast tissue removed due to the side effects. This particular side effect we know as gynecomastia. Rika Reinisch, a female swimmer in the Eastern German program, won gold in the Moscow Olympics in 1980 and felt a new sense of accomplishment and pride in her homeland. However, she had found later that with intense abdominal pain, she was diagnosed with ovarian cysts. She was 16 years old. She had no idea what was being administered to her, and she would never be able to have children. The use of steroids in weightlifting at that time was also prevalent in other countries, particularly the Soviet Union and Bulgaria. These countries had their own state-sponsored doping programs as well, which too provided the athletes with an array of performance-enhancing drugs. In 1980, the International Olympic Committee, otherwise known as the IOC, began to take action against doping, introducing more stringent testing procedures and banning the use of certain substances. Despite these efforts, the use of steroids in weightlifting continued to be a problem, again, surprisingly amongst women and children.
From my experience actually speaking to top coaches, like the general process is take a kid when they're very young, introduce them to gymnastics and other sports and stuff, then they start weightlifting. They might be 11 to 13. Mm-hmm. That's when they start steroids. And
Yeah. That's when they start steroids.
Yeah. And then they start training for weightlifting. And they start, from that day on, everything is enhanced.
I think giving children hormones so that your country can win at the Olympics or win at world championships for your country's prestige is absolutely despicable. Exogenous hormones can disrupt the natural balance in hormones in a child's body. Children are still developing, and their hormone levels can fluctuate naturally as they grow. Introducing external hormones can interfere with this natural process and potentially lead to imbalances or negative side effects. There's also a lack of research on the long-term effects of exogenous hormones on children. While some hormones may be necessary for certain medical conditions, there is a risk of unknown side effects or negative consequences in the future. Children don't fully understand the risks of taking exogenous hormones and may not be able to make informed decisions about their own health. It's important for children to have some level of autonomy over their own bodies, and giving them exogenous hormones without their consent can violate this autonomy. Sadly, this isn't something of the past. We're still experiencing this in today's age. In 2019, the Vietnamese Weightlifting Federation, the Egyptian Weightlifting Federation, and the Thai Weightlifting Federation was banned from international competition for 4 years due to doping violations. These bans were a result of the discovery that numerous weightlifters from these countries, including children, had tested positive for steroids. There are also some famous weightlifters who have been caught using steroids at a very young age. The darling of weightlifting, Loredana Toma, was administered with stanozolol, or widely known in the bodybuilding world as Winstrol, as a teenage girl. Winstrol is a very serious drug to give a teenage girl for glory for your country. The greatest female weightlifter of all time, Tatiana Casciarino, was given steroids and was caught as a 14-year-old girl. Look, I've been at this thing for a while, just talking about steroids in this sport and just in fitness in general. And every time I've mentioned performance-enhancing drugs, I've gotten the same incredibly common response. They're all on steroids, and let them all just take steroids. And I understand this approach because it's something that is definitely frustrating to the consumer. However, it's important to note that there is still corruption that has yet to be snuffed out. There are wretched coaches and countries and federations with state-sponsored doping programs giving hormones to children. To legalize this and to legitimize this is not exactly what people have in mind when they throw their hands up and say, I just want to be entertained. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to support this channel, head to my Patreon. Go to patreon.com/Zach Tellender. There you can find some Q&As and some programs so you can start weightlifting or just general training today. Thank you.